Gretchen Wright. I'm the Director of Strategic Communications here at WestEd.
I'm Jannelle Kubinec, CEO at WestEd.
Thanks for taking the time to sit down with me and talk a little bit about the agency. Let's start with something very basic.
Okay, what is WestEd? What is WestEd? That's a question we hear a lot. And I would say WestEd's a place about making education better. We sit at this intersect of research, policy, and practice, which is the way to bring evidence to how we inform what happens in our learning process, whether that be early childhood all the way to post-secondary education and jobs. And bringing forward that through the form of research, bringing forward that through the form of support to the field, and really ultimately working on systems and practices that help writing learners and empower communities.
There are a lot of organizations and companies that do similar kinds of work. What do you think it is that really differentiates WestEd from the rest of them?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that differentiates us is there's a lot of companies that do one or two parts of what we do, which is the research, the policy, or the practice. The fact that we bring it all together and we really think about how do we apply research to practice? How do we think about policy as it pertains to, evidence and research and then to practice? I think makes us really unique. We also have folks here with backgrounds that include research. They include former teachers. They include school leaders. And I think that just brings together a really great mix of experience, expertise, and a sense of connection to the work in the field that we work with.
So we're going to get down to it now. We take a lot of pride in our approach to partnering with our clients. Can you talk about some of the ways that we partner with schools, with communities, with districts, states, universities, foundations?
So I think everything we do is in partnership. And so one example I'll give you is from Alaska to New York, we're working with schools and districts on leadership and teacher training and coaching. I think what's really key there is we'll do, training on everything from early learning to literacy to math. And along the way, our most effective engagements and partnerships involve also coaching. And it involves the understanding of practice and then the building of that practice through ongoing support. So that's one way that we look at partnerships. We do a lot of work with state education agency as well. And I think in that work, one of the key pieces is how do we build capacity of states? How do we build confidence in practice, which comes from evidence of how it's being done, practice in other places. And I feel like we just have this really amazing opportunity to work with states as their partner, as their thought partner, as their trusted advisors. And I think that's just something that we hold at our core is really important.
And another key thing about WestEd, of course, is that we ground all of our work in what the research shows us is effective. And we've got a team called Research Practice Partnerships. Can you talk a little bit about how we integrate research into the solutions we present to clients?
Yeah, I think that's Research Practice Partnerships. I'm glad you brought that up because everything we do in research isn't because there's just an interesting question to ask, but it's an area where there's a need for answers that exists in a local or state context. So research practice partnerships is about thinking through the application of research to a practice or to a real world problem. So, but I also think there's value in how it gets extrapolated to other areas. And it's really important to share what you learn so that it contributes to practice in other areas. So we've looked at local problems ranging from chronic absenteeism and what to do with student engagement in a local area that has real implications for how do we address engagement of students and chronic absenteeism around the country. We've looked at math learning and the pathways of math and the practice of early math and in that research been able to think about local solutions to present needs around elevating performance in math. We're doing the same with literacy right now in the state of Illinois, and that's a process of looking at, we know what your data says. How do we start to study and look at what those interventions can be that are going to make a difference and show results for students?
A lot is being made of generative AI, generally speaking, but also in the education field. Can you talk about something WestEd has been doing in that space?
Yeah, so a lot is being made. We hear it all the time. We go out and they go, "Oh, what should we be doing with AI?" That's one question. So one thing we're doing is working right now with states and some districts to say, what are the things that you have to be thoughtful about to effectively use AI in practice? That includes everything from your infrastructure to your policies to the actual use of curriculum and teaching using AI. Another part is we're part of a nationally funded center that's looking at generative AI use, particularly around science and math, and researching that and supporting that. What makes a difference to students' outcomes and learning? How much and what do teachers know, and how does that affect outcomes and the productive use of generative AI tools? So I think there's a lot to learn, and we're excited to be part of that. And from there, I think, it's again that process of research to practice. What do you know, and how do you make a difference in what that translates into?
Well, WestEd has been around for a while. We've got an impressive history. It spans 6 decades, so we've done a lot of things. I'm going to ask you if you can speak to the thing that WestEd has done that you are most proud of.
Oh my gosh, the thing that seems like I think one thing is to just be a leader in this notion that research matters to practice and practice matters to research and policy, and that intersection. I think it's very easy, and we see this happening at my background's policy. You see this happening in policy where it's the anecdote that carries the day. And yet we're in how do we bring the evidence that helps us understand, or how do we bring the questions that help us learn? So I think the ability for us to be a fairly steady but evolving force in the power and importance of what research means to practice and practice means research and policy, I think is something that I'm really proud of, and I think will be important as we move into our next 60 years. Great. Thank you very much.
Visit wested.org to learn more.